circle. It's not just the fibers in your muscles that you're building. I've been weightlifting as soon as I was old enough to join my local gym. And I think that a lot of the motivation for me going to the gym was largely superficial, probably like a lot of young men who look to go to the gym to improve their lives. In that way, I think my story is no different to many of your stories, in that you would have heard them 1,000 times over and over again. Not particularly popular at school. I think I was lucky in the fact that I attracted a fairly decent social circle, but I don't believe I was perceived as having anything particularly unique to add to that social group. I seem to have just stuck, perhaps like a bad smell. I really enjoyed sports, but then again, I don't think I found anything that I particularly excelled at. In the UK, we have a big football culture and always will have, and I was a little less than average at that particular sport. However, I did do really well in solo ventures, particularly athletics. I think comparatively to my size, I was pretty quick. Well, I am still pretty quick, and I could outpace the majority of my year over 100 meters. And I think that's part of the kind of multifactorial equation that led to me being so eager and so tenacious about joining the gym and going through the trials and tribulations of being consistent in that particular exercise. Now, it's great when you first join the gym. You start to reap the rewards of the natty gains in that your body composition changes very, very quickly. And I'm thinking back to my early years as a PT. One of the most joyous aspects of getting a client who perhaps didn't have any previous training or gym experience is that you knew, regardless of the training program that you laid out, that you were going to get them great results purely because the body hasn't had that experience of weight stimuli, being in the environments under, let's say, heavy duress of resistance training. So, of course, I remember uploading that odd cringy Facebook photo as soon as I got my first ab vein or bicep vein, because it's all rather exciting, you know, especially if you come from a background of, let's say, not being conventionally attractive to some of the women in high school or secondary school if you're in the UK. But after that initial euphoria and that influx of attention you get when people start to, let's say, double take, you find yourself discovering something, well, some of us find ourselves discovering something that is of insurmountable value moving forward for the rest of our lives. We find ourselves finding something more valuable than social validation. But look, guys, I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you like I am in all my videos. I enjoy the validation. I think any guy that says they don't enjoy the validation of, let's say, seeing the rewards and the attention that they get in the gym is just lying. And it ties in with the motivation that actually got us to that first place. So then as soon as you start filling out your t-shirts a little bit more, and then the fit is a little bit more snug, heads start to turn, and you start to again reap the rewards of the benefits that you got. Your BBM starts popping. That was a big thing back, let's say 10 or 12 years ago. BBM was all the rage, and your BBM start popping off as soon as you start again being seen in the light of that gym guy, that guy that's a little bit more, let's say, sexually attractive. But like I was saying, this attention that we get, although great, and I think we should indulge in it a little bit, is always going to be a side benefit to the other point that I really want to make, that is so crucial that you don't lose sight of track of. Because I see this so many times to count, especially from the guys that start getting that attention because they didn't get it at school or they didn't get it at university. They start going to the gym, they start getting their value up, and then they start substituting their training days for chase and tail, or spending a little bit longer in the clubs or the bars or the pubs and things like that, hoping that they'll get lucky. They start to notice that that muscle starts looking a little bit less than muscle and more a little bit more like fat. And then they start to panic, they get shocked. And it's these same guys that, because they crimp out on their training days, they start to substitute, let's say, hard work for immediate gratification. They start turning to just that, the immediate gratification. They start talking to the guys behind the gyms about, you know, what psalms they can take, what gear they can take. They might start getting on the trend, and they might start in a little starting to look a little bit more juicy, let's say. And fortunately enough, I was able to duck out of this particular, let's say, this particular pool. But guys, that carousel is so hard to get off, and I've seen guys just slip down that slippery slope into nihilism and oblivion. But if you can, or are part of that small group of men who resist that temptation, then you'll find yourself discovering something that you can take with you, and it has application in so many different areas of your life, it's not even funny. You see, we largely start this journey for superficial reasons. Of course, going back to the start of this, we start to go on this journey of trying to get our value up and trying to be perceived a little bit more socially, let's say, approachable. But if you're mindful and sensitive enough to realize it, you will find that mentality that you develop as a consequence of this pursuit is just something that can just flip the equation in regards to everybody else in their pursuit of success. But think about it, the grueling hours that you spend being consistent in the gym 5 days a week, getting up in at 6 a.m. in the morning, it's cold, it's been snowing outside, you get up and then the first thing you need to do is go to the gym, fasted, lift some heavy weight. Of course, the benefit that you get from that isn't going to be just physical. It's not just the fibers in your muscles that you're building. You see, one of the biggest contributors to my success, or let's say the privileged position that I'm in now, is a direct consequence of being able to be consistent in the gym without the promise of having an immediate reward. It takes a long time to see the fruits of your labor, especially if you've been in the gym for over a decade. Like I mentioned before, those natty gains, they don't last forever, guys. And if you're, let's say familiar with the gym, you know that better than the next person. Every year you're trying to get on, a pound or two of muscle, or in the first year you're really, recuperating, getting the advantage, getting the fruit of your labor with the natty gain cycle. So in that respect, consistency is a variable that trumps skill, it trumps focus, it trumps every other variable, in my opinion, that's conducive to success. If you can be consistent in anything that you do, the question doesn't become a matter of how, it becomes a matter of time. Nowhere is this more consistent than in weightlifting or exercise in general. Even when I think about the success that I've had in creating my platform here on YouTube, or certainly the success that I've had on creating that following on Twitter and starting to reap not just the social benefits of making so many good connections, but of course the financial benefits and the other kind of business related knowledge and acumen that you develop as going on this entrepreneurial pursuit. But I have no doubt that the mental fortitude that I have created as a consequence of just being courageous enough to get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and do my homework, do my weightlifting, regardless of how I felt, is the number one factor of why I'm here today and why I'm in such a privileged position. So gentlemen, I wanted to share with you perhaps that trite message that a lot of you will receive from these self-improvement YouTubers, but I wanted to give you a different angle on it, that of course it's not just the superficial aspect, which has its advantages of course, but the mental attitude, the mental application that you get is insurmountable compared to these physical benefits. And if there's one thing that will improve your life dramatically more than any other piece of advice I could give you today, it would be the law of showing up every day, regardless of how you feel, just to put in the work. And that is something that cannot be replicated, and it's going to be something that outdoes focus, like I say, and outdoes skill every single time. So gentlemen, if you subscribe to that message, you can subscribe to me, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. You take care.